Story time of how we almost got kidnapped. So me and my best mate were having some cocktails by the river. It was summertime and time was flying by and it began to get dark. Bear in mind that the river to the main roads were like a 20-minute walk, so we were far from anyone and anything. The river was also quite hidden, so we agreed to go back before it started getting dark. It was a little scary. We had to go through the woods, and by the time we'd got onto this little motorway bridge, it was literally pitch black. And we still had so far to go. So we carried on walking. There was woods either side of us, and my friend legit made us stop because she had saw some bats, and I don't know why she thought they would stay there, but we ended up standing there for about 2 minutes. Dead ass, no joke, we were standing there and heard a whistle from the trees next to us. And when I tell you, we have never ran so far and so fast in our lives. It was horrifying. We still had to go over another little bridge. We had to go through train tracks and cow fields. We got over this river bridge and legit was running for our lives. My friend looked back and this guy was about 2 feet away from us. I'm running out of time, so like part 2. Story time, we almost got kidnapped part 2. So like I was saying, my friend looked back and this guy was about 2 meters away from us. We had got over the little bridge, but we still had to go over the train tracks, through the cow fields and all of that stuff. We were like halfway through the cow fields. We dropped our bottles and just carried on running. Then we had to go through the train tracks. Bear in mind, you have to open these gates to get through them, so that would just be holding back time. It was absolutely horrifying, but the guy must have stopped running because when we looked back, he wasn't there. But we continued running because we still had so far to go and we had to walk home, which made it even worse. I guess it was our fault because we went back when it was dark, but we were just wondering what his plan was to do because he was just there by himself in the dark and in the woods. It's like, what was his plans? But anyways, the next day we decided to come back. I have no idea why we decided to come back, but we did. It was in the middle of the day and our straws and our bottles were literally laying there on the ground. It was so weird to see because we had dropped them the night before, but they were completely full and unopened. So when we dropped the bottles, that's when he must have stopped running for us.
Story time on how I got kidnapped by my ex-boyfriend. And today I'm not going to do any lip syncing, and this is not my story. So I was 16 at the time, he was 19. He lived with his grandmother and I was only allowed to go over when she was at work or out of town. And we were very toxic. We were always on and off and he used to hit me. He used to throw me around, and guys, I'm 5'5", and he was literally a foot taller than me. So one day, we were broken up at the time. I called him and told him that I needed to get my stuff from his grandmother's house. I left my backpack and a few other things there because I was serious about breaking up with him. So he told me to go at 5 because at that time his grandmother wouldn't be there. She's a nurse, so she works doubles. Also, he told me he wanted to, talk to break up on a good note. And me being naive and young, I believed him. And I really needed my backpack for college. So I had my friend drop me off in my car. I'm running out of time, so come back for part 2. Okay, so part 2 on how I got kidnapped by my ex-boyfriend. So I told my friend to drop me off in my own car because I was afraid he would take my car keys like he's done before. So I got there and he was acting super strange. He started telling me that my clothes were upstairs, but he still ended up going upstairs and getting them. And I was actively texting someone and he got really mad, and that's when it all started. So he threw the backpack at me and took my phone away. I tried to open the door, but he overpowered me and he blocked the door. I yelled at him to let me go and he wouldn't. He demanded for me to talk with him. He grabbed me, threw me on the couch, demanding to talk to me. I said, about what? And he was asking me why I wanted to leave him. But I refused to talk because I was pissed off. And that angered him, and he said I wasn't going to leave until I told him why I wanted to break up with him. So I told him some bum-ass story on how I wanted to focus on school. Come back for part 3. Part 3 on how I got kidnapped by my ex-boyfriend. And I told him that we could get back together after the semester was over. And I think he saw through my bullshit because he punched me. I tried to fight him back, but honestly, what could I do to him? So after that, I just sat there thinking of how I was gonna get out of this. And he turned on the TV and told me that I was with him for the night. And I knew his grandmother would not get off till 5 a.m. So I ended up waiting until he relaxed and I went to the bathroom. And on my way there, I noticed a cordless house phone. And he waited for me to get out of the bathroom and then escorted me to the living room. I asked him to make us some food, and then while he was doing that, he told me that if he couldn't have me, no one can. I ended up calling 911 and kept on talking to him about the kidnap, assuming the operator would be listening to me. Long story short, the cops came, they threw him on the floor. I ended up leaving, never pressed charges, blocked him from everywhere, and now I have 3 beautiful kids and I'm married, far away from him.
So this is probably my favorite story about my cheating ex. As many stories as I have on him, this one happened after we were broken up. He had left me for a girl that he was seeing on the side, and we hadn't spoken in months. We had both blocked each other on pretty much everything. But as most girls do, I do have my fake Instagram account, and he seemed pretty happy in his new relationship. I believed that until I got a DM from a girl. She sent me screenshots of messages and fake accounts that he had made to communicate to her. So he had literally been cheating on the girl that he was with now with her the whole time. I literally don't understand people sometimes. Both him and I were in the same friend group, mostly because we pretty much grew up together. So I talked to another member of the group about what we should do. Now, I believe in karma and that people get what they deserve, but who's to say that I'm not karma? So we decided to show up to his house with not only the girl he was cheating with, but all the girls he cheated on me with. And take care of this, I kid you not, game show style. Follow, share, interact, and I'll do a part 2. The thing that shocks me the most about Min is the audacity. I don't know what the comments are going to be yet, but I want to clarify 1, that him and I were best friends for a long time before dating, so that's why we had the same friend group. 2, kind of bold to show up at someone's house, kind of also bold to cheat on someone, but we were neighbors. So we went in, microphone in hand, and announced each girl one by one. He was speechless. Like, he didn't even know what to say. If you've ever just seen someone like entangled in so many lies that he thinks that he's never gonna get caught for, all of a sudden get caught for all of them, that was it. When his friend went in, he was like, hey, do you have something you want to share with me? Like, what's been going on in your relationship? He admitted to nothing. So that's why we announced girl number 1, girl number 2, girl number 3, until we were all there and he had no choice but to tell us the truth. So yeah, don't be a scumbag, don't cheat. And if you do, karma will happen eventually, even if it's years down the line.
Story time about how I caught my best friend with my ex-boyfriend just a few weeks after we broke up. We became friends in middle school and were inseparable ever since. My boyfriend and I met when we were 20 and we were together for 3 years. I'm not a strong drinker, so whenever we would go out, I would usually be the DD. My best friend used this opportunity to get extremely wasted every time we went out. Every time she got drunk, she would be extremely flirty with my boyfriend. She would do things like touch his chest, lean on him, and want to be in every picture or video he took. I chalked it up to her being drunk and didn't think too much into it. Fast forward to when me and my ex finally broke up. My best friend encouraged me to break up with him and told me that I deserved better. Shortly after, I noticed that she was hiding things from me and not telling me where she was or who she was hanging out with. Whenever we kicked it, she was always on her phone nonstop, and when I looked over, she would hide her phone or turn it over. One day I looked over and I noticed my ex's name as the contact that she was texting. I let it go that night, and the next day I checked her Snap location. Her location was in my ex's neighborhood, so I texted her and asked her what she was up to. She tried to play it off by saying she was shopping with her mom. At this point, all I saw was red. I decided to grab my keys and go over to my ex's house. Part 2 of catching my best friend with my ex-boyfriend a few weeks after we broke up. So my ex had a habit of not locking his doors, and when I went up to the door, guess what? It wasn't locked. I quietly let myself in and made my way up to his bedroom. I could already hear noises coming from the bedroom, so I knew what was up. Or so I thought I did. Imagine my surprise when I flung the door open and saw my best friend not with 1, not with 2, but 3 guys, and one of them being my ex. The look on her face when I walked in and saw her was priceless. I should also mention that I was recording all of this, so I got it all on video. My best friend ran after me with a blanket around her. At first, she was apologetic and begging for forgiveness. But after noticing that I was pretty much done with the friendship, she started being a huge bitch. She started calling me names and telling me it's not her fault that my ex likes her better because she's not vanilla like me. The next thing I did was really petty, but at the moment I didn't care. I texted the video I had of her to her sister and let her know what was going on. That's when she went into a full-on rage and tried to swing on me. I dodged it, yanked the towel, and slapped her right back. I left her on the lawn looking stupid and naked. All of our friends took my side and I never heard from her again.
This girl was catfishing people with my pictures, and her own sister was the one that actually told me about this. She had a Facebook of me with a lot of pictures for 3 years. I tried to report it, but they didn't remove the page. Later on, I get a DM from this guy. He told me that he fell in love with the catfish, and he was just venting to me. He said that they would always text and call each other. He even said that she would talk on the phone with his mom. He told me that she had an Instagram and a Snapchat acting like it was me. And I asked him, I know this is very personal, but did she ever send you anything inappropriate or nudes through Snapchat or through these apps? Tell me why. He says yes. He went back on his Snapchat and he was able to find those pictures. Her face was not showing, but her body was. And it's crazy because her body shape was exactly like mine. I was so creeped out. My catfish wouldn't only send pictures of my selfies, but she would also send pictures of nudes. Thankfully, it wasn't actually me. That would be very creepy. But this girl would send pictures of someone that looked like me with the same body shape as me. As far as I know, she would send these pictures through Snapchat. and tell me why I searched up the username and this Bitmoji literally looked like me. Like the emoji that we could create, it looked like me. Like, how is this possible? And the guy that fell in love with her actually sent me a picture of how she looks like. And let me tell you, that girl does not look like me at all. I had contacted the fake page and I told her to stop or else I would expose her pictures. And she didn't care. She still did it. So I exposed her on my personal page and I showed everybody how she looked like.
When my daughter was born, she had dark skin and looked like her parents could be of African descent. My husband was furious and accused me of cheating and left right then and there. He told everyone on both sides of the family what happened and wanted a divorce. Then his friends and families all called me to say how upset they were and called me really nasty names. My mother was by my side the entire time as I kept professing my innocence. He refused to pick me up from the hospital, threw myself out on the lawn and changed the locks. When my sister called to get the baby stuff, he texted her a picture of a bare nursery room and said he got rid of everything. He even destroyed my art studio. Eventually, he agreed to do a paternity test and he was 100% the father. No one could believe this, so he did it again and he was the dad. One of his cousins did the ancestry thing and found out there was 30% of African in their family. This made Jim's paternal great-grandmother admit to having an affair around the same time Jim's grandfather was born, and because he could pass as hers, she just assumed her husband was the father. Since then, he's been reaching out and everyone has come to apologize. I told him I needed time and he asked to see the baby and I let him, but I'm too afraid to physically hand her to him. I've never cheated and have been 100% innocent all this time. Am I the asshole for not wanting to give him a second chance?